There is no denying that Mario is easily the most recognizable video game character in history. He's had over 250 games in over the last 25 years, and he's even had TV shows, a movie, and tons of merchandise. Recently, Nintendo celebrated the 25th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. And released Super Mario All-Stars 25th Anniversary Edition, which is basically a port of the Super Mario Bros. All-Stars game from the Super Nintendo, but with a bunch of extra content added. It's hard to believe that Mario's been around this long, and it's just incredible with what Nintendo has accomplished with him. So, to honor Mario, I'm taking the liberty to make a short retrospective from where he began to where he is now. This is the legacy of the Plumber. The year was 1981, and Nintendo was attempting to get the rights to create a game based off the Popeye comics. However, it didn't work out in the end. And so they decided that they would create their own original characters and make their own game. Hiroshi Yamauchi, the president of Nintendo at the time, asked Shigeru Miyamoto to make an arcade game. For the concept, Miyamoto came up with the idea of having a love triangle between a gorilla, a girl, and a carpenter. The game was fairly simple. You play the carpenter, Jumpman, and you have to save your girlfriend, Pauline, from your pet ape, Donkey Kong, by simply avoiding barrels and fireballs and all sorts of weird obstacles. Donkey Kong was soon released in the arcade and became very successful, and 2 years after its release, Jumpman would be in his own game, and he would become a plumber instead of a carpenter, and would soon be given the name Mario. Miyamoto said the name Mario came from Mario Siegel, who was Nintendo of America's warehouse landlord at the time. He burst into the warehouse demanding rent money one time, and he had a huge argument with Nintendo employees. They eventually got him to leave, then they decided for the heck of it that they named the character Mario. The success of Donkey Kong led to the creation of Mario Bros., which was released in the arcades in 1983. This was the first game to introduce Mario's younger brother, Luigi, and it was the first to have two-player co-op. Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong were both very addicting and very successful arcade games. However, this didn't stop the video game crash from happening. For those who don't know, the video game crash is when tons of video game companies were starting to go out of business, as society just seemed to just give up on video games very quickly. Not to mention, the release of E.T. and the poorly ported version of Pac-Man didn't help at all. Actually, those two games are the main reason that happened in the first place. It seemed that video games were just going to fade away forever and never be heard from again. But 2 years later, Mario would return, and not only revolutionize video games, but save them from falling into obscurity. Super Mario Bros. Was released on Friday, September 13th, 1985. It was released on the Famicom in Japan, and on the Nintendo Entertainment System in America 2 months later. The game took place in the Mushroom Kingdom and was ruled by Princess Toadstool. The princess is kidnapped by Bowser, the king of the Koopas, and in order to save her, Mario must journey through 8 different worlds, each having 4 sub-levels. In the first 3, you make your way to a castle while avoiding Goombas, Bullet Bills, Koopa Troopas, and a bunch of other weird creatures. And along the way, Mario would collect coins and could find mushrooms that would make him grow bigger and allow him to become Super Mario, or he could also find 1-ups that would give him an extra life, and he would also find a fire flower that would allow him to throw fireballs at his enemies, and if he also found a star, he would be able to become invincible for a few seconds. Super Mario Bros. Focused on having gameplay that was both fun and challenging, and introduced a lot of elements that we still see in games even today, like the cliche of having to save the princess and going through 7 or 8 levels to save her, or being able to survive from falling from long heights and being able to defy the laws of physics. The game was a huge success and since then has sold over 40.24 million copies. It saved the video game industry and launched Mario into a franchise. Three years after its release, Super Mario Bros. 2 was released on the NES. The game was very different from its predecessor. Instead of only being able to play as Mario and Luigi, you could also play as Toad and Princess Toadstool. It took place in Subcon, which is a world of dreams, and is ruled by a giant evil frog named Wart. The goal was to defeat all of Wart's generals and stop him from controlling people's dreams using the Dream Machine. In the game, you couldn't just simply jump on enemies to beat them. You had to pick something up and throw it at them. Or you could pick them up and then throw them at other enemies. Each character had their own unique ability. Luigi could jump really high, Toad could run really fast and was the strongest out of all the characters, and Princess Toadstool could float in the midair for a few seconds. And Mario was, well, it's hard to say. He seemed to be the standard version out of all the characters, and didn't really have any unique abilities. This Super Mario Bros. 2 was not actually the real Super Mario Bros. 2. The real one, which is known today as the Lost Levels, was only released in Japan, because they thought American audiences would find it too hard and because it was too similar to the original. But it was eventually released in America with Super Mario All-Stars. The Super Mario Bros. 2 North America got was actually a clone of Doki Doki Panic, another game that was made by Miyamoto. Regardless, the Super Mario Bros. 2 North America got still did extremely well, and is the third best-selling Mario game ever made. But it would soon become overshadowed by Super Mario Bros. 3, which is considered by some to not just be the best Mario game in the series, but to be the best game in the NES library. Nintendo went back to the original formula, which would be the basis for every other Mario game afterwards, in which Mario would always have to continue to save Princess Toadstool from Bowser. Although this is almost always the plot in every Mario game, Nintendo would always try something new with the concept and gameplay. Super Mario Bros. 3 introduced Bowser's children, the Koopaling Kids. They hide in 7 parts of the Mushroom Kingdom, and each has stolen a magic wand and turned the king of that area into an animal. Mario and Luigi had to defeat each of Bowser's children, get a magic wand back, and turn the king of that area back into a human. Mario was given a lot of new abilities aside from being able to just throw fireballs. Now he could fly with the raccoon tail, swim faster through water with the frog suit, turn to stone with the tanuki suit, and be able to throw dozens of hammers at once. Before Mario would make his 16-bit debut on the Super Nintendo, he would first appear on Nintendo's first handheld, the Game Boy, with Super Mario Land. Super Mario Land was released as a launch title for the Game Boy in 1989, and was the first Mario game to not be developed by Shigeru Miyamoto. It takes place in Sarasa Land, which is soon terrorized by an alien named Takanaga, who kidnaps their princess Daisy. Mario happened to be around the area, and decides to try to save Princess Daisy. Aside from its similar gameplay, Super Mario Land did include vehicles you could use such as the Marine Pop, the Sky Pop, and it even included an ability called the Super Ball. Super Mario Land had become the best-selling game in history to not be included with the system, which was very impressive. Soon after, in 1990, Nintendo arrived a little late to the 16-bit era, whereas Sega was already dominating with the Sega Genesis and was in the works of creating their own mascot, who would later become Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario's eternal rival. Super Mario World was released on November 21st, 1990 in Japan, and in America on August 13th, 1991, along with the release of the Super Nintendo each time. This game in particular is my personal favorite, mostly due to the fact that this was the first Mario game I ever played. The game takes place on Dinosaur Island, where Mario and Luigi are trying to save Princess Toadstool from Bowser again. However, they're not only trying to save the princess, but the friends of Yoshi as well. Yoshi, the adorable green dinosaur, makes his debut here in Super Mario World introduced the Cape Feather, which, like the raccoon tail, would allow Mario to glide in the air. As the next few years went by, Mario was in a lot of games, from spin-offs to re-releases to horrible excuses for games, but fortunately they were not made by Nintendo, so they really don't count. But one game I remember in particular is Super Mario RPG, Legend of All 7 Stars. It was released in 1996 and was the first Mario role-playing game, and was a very well done one too, being made with the combined efforts of Nintendo and Square, well known for making the Final Fantasy series. And together they produced an excellent game. It introduced some interesting characters that, quite frankly, I'm surprised haven't appeared in any other Mario game since. Super Mario RPG originally begins with Bowser kidnapping Princess Toadstool, and Mario trying to save her from Bowser. However, after defeating Bowser, a strange turn of events happen. The castle starts shaking, and it sends Mario and Peach and Bowser skyrocketing across the Mushroom Kingdom, and a giant sword called Exar crashes into the castle. It destroys the Star Road and claims the castle as the property of the Smithy Gang. So in order to stop the Smithy Gang, Mario must travel across the Mushroom Kingdom and meet new friends and allies and aid him as he searches for the 7 star pieces needed to repair the Star Road. Super Mario RPG was very well received, but sadly it didn't get a sequel, which is really disappointing. But Mario did get more RPGs, such as the Mario & Luigi series and the Paper Mario series. 1996 wasn't just the year Mario got his first RPG, it was also the year he once again redefined gaming, when he made his first debut into 3D with Super Mario 64. This game just flat out blew people's minds away with how awesome it was. Mario was moving in 3 dimensions, he could punch and kick enemies now, and he could turn into metal and walk underwater, and he could talk too. As usual, Mario has to save Princess Peach, but this time she was not just kidnapped by Bowser, she was imprisoned by him in her own castle. In order to save her, Mario has to travel through paintings which lead to other worlds to retrieve all the Power Stars and defeat Bowser once again. Mario has evolved, but has never changed from what makes him so special. He's always been essentially you, the gamer. I mean, Mario still is generally a silent protagonist most of the time, but that's where you come in. You become him, and guide him on his never-ending journeys to save the princess. As time will go by, Mario will always be around, and will forever be in the hearts of gamers.